Hey everyone, Michele Amitrani here, and thank you for joining me today for another of my interviews. I am simply thrilled to introduce my guest today, John Lee Dumas. John is an American entrepreneur and a podcaster. He is the founder and host of EOFire, a daily podcast that interviews entrepreneurs 7 days a week, and has featured people like Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Barbara Corcoran, Tim Ferriss, and Brian Tracy. The show was named Best of iTunes in 2013. EOFire generates 7 figures in revenue annually. In January 2016, John launched the Freedom Journal via Kickstarter campaign, which became one of the most funded publishing campaigns in the history of Kickstarter, with over $350,000 pledged in 33 days. Wow! John, thank you so much for taking the time to chit-chat with us. I'm super excited to speak with you today.
Well, Michele, even though you can't see me right now, I am French, so my hands are flailing everywhere.
Jeez. Thank you for that. I love that. John, here at creatingletterstory.com, we believe that a self-published author is 100% a business owner, and that he or she should behave like one when he's promoting or distributing or one of their book or products in general. Now, you built a business from scratch. You started as a podcaster, but then became also an author, a speaker, a promoter, and more generally speaking, a person driven by a goal. And that goal is to empower other people. Now, how did that transformation happen? What motivated you to go from point A to point B?
I can literally point to one quote that changed everything for me. But before I even share that quote, I'll give you just a little background because I went to college on a U.S. Army scholarship. So post-college, I spent 8 years in the U.S. Army. So very traditional. I spent 13 months in Iraq, leading a platoon of 4 tanks and 16 men. Post-Army, I tried law school. I quit. I tried corporate finance, commercial real estate. None of these things were working for me, and not over a short period of time. This was over 6 years. I was struggling through these different careers and professions, not finding my thing at all. And getting back to that quote, Albert Einstein said, "Try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value." And when I heard that quote, everything clicked that I had been trying to become a person of success. I had been chasing what I thought was going to bring me fame, fortune, respect. And in the end, it was just getting me nothing. But when I flipped everything on its head and just became a person of value and was just looking to create free, valuable, consistent content on that consistent basis, which for me was daily, success found me. Like it literally found me. So that was a huge game changer for me of going from, trying to become that person of success to becoming that person of value. And that led me to where I am today with EOFire, the daily podcast that has over 1,500 interviews, over 40 million listens to date, is a multi-million-dollar a year business because I provide value first and foremost.
I love that. A few years ago, you wrote a very helpful book called Podcast Launch, which was basically in order to help other people to create, share, and monetize a podcast. Now, most of my followers are writers, and on their behalf, I'd like to ask you this. When you sit down and write a book, this question includes also the Freedom Journal. What is your number one priority? What do you want your readers to take with them as they absorb your product?
So my number one priority is a journey. Like I want to take my readers, or if it's the audio version, my listeners on a journey. I want them to get immersed in the story because I believe that we as humans, we resonate with stories. Like we understand and we get stories. Stories are very meaningful. Like that's why if you break up the word history, it's his story. Yeah. We learn from stories. So I want to tell a story. I want to take my listeners through a story that's very meaningful to them. So, looking at my creation of Podcast Launch, I started that book off, if you can remember, with the woman, who was looking as a way to educate herself, because, she was spending all her day either commuting or working or then home. Yeah. Or home with the kids. And so she found podcasting as a great medium. So that really just connected with people that, wow, you can use podcasting as a way to learn, as a way to educate yourself when you otherwise would just be wasting that time in a car, listening to radio. And that was really exciting, for people to kind of go on that journey and that connected with them. And that's what I like to bring to my readers of the book, is that journey.
And what about the Freedom Journal? Now, it's a different kind of book, but that one also is something you really put a lot into yourself.
Yeah, the Freedom Journal is a massively different beast, because it is a journal. What it is the first 20 or 30 pages is me explaining what the Freedom Journal is and really guiding you into what it means to set a SMART goal, into what's the different parts of the book are and how to operate within them. Yeah. And then it's just okay, now it's day one. And then you just follow this pattern. And the whole premise of the Freedom Journal is you accomplishing your number one goal in 100 days. Yes. And you do that by following the structure that I've created, the step-by-step guide, where I teach you how to do just that, to set and accomplish your number one goal in those 100 days. So you just follow it. You follow the 10-day sprints where you set a micro goal, and then within those 10 days, you're accomplishing that goal. You follow the daily activities. You follow the nightly recaps. You do the 25-day quarterly reviews where you're looking back over those previous 25 days and you're saying, what worked? Right. Awesome. Let's amplify that. What didn't? Okay, let's adjust. And then you continue to drive forward. And, it just really resonated with people. I mean, there's a reason why we've sold over 16,000 Freedom Journals, at, by the way, $39 each. So it's not like Podcast Launch where it's $2.99. This is a sizable investment for some people. And, but it's also, a sizable book. I mean, this is a real high quality journal that's, is meant to really exude awesomeness.
Yeah, it's something people is ready to invest into. Yeah. Now, something a bit different. This is something that you really treasure, and complete transparency is something that it's really important to you. So share what you do and how you do it. In fact, on your website, EOFire.com, one of the very first things that people can see is the revenue your business generated in a month. Now, why is that so important to you? Do you think any business owner can benefit from this approach based on transparency?
I think transparency is huge, because when you want to do business with somebody, you want to do business with people that you know, that you like, that you trust. Go back to the old days when you'd walk down the street and you'd go to your local baker. You knew that baker, he created the muffins, the bread, he was there, right. He was doing it. You knew, liked, and trusted he was going to provide a good quality product. Right. Because, if he didn't, you were going to go back, and he valued your business because, he sold to people in his neighborhood, and his reputation mattered. And that's all about transparency. And I wanted to bring that to the podcasting world, because I saw people like Pat Flynn doing that in the blogging world. And it inspired me that a good guy that was creating free content could make a business out of it. And that's what I wanted to do with EOFire. I wanted to be a good guy who was creating free content that could turn it into a business that generated revenue. So Pat proved that model to me. And if, when I started having success with that, with a model for podcasting, I wanted to be transparent to podcasters. So where Pat shows bloggers how to do it, I show podcasters what works so you can emulate our success, but also what doesn't work so you can avoid our failures, both of which are very important.
Right. Now, this is a question I need to ask you. You build hundreds of different things and create so many different projects on so many different platforms. How do you stay inspired and came up with so many different ideas?
That's where it's so important as a content producer to realize that your best ideas are going to come from those who consume your content. And for me, that's Fire Nation. So it's so important to do things that don't scale. It's so important to actually connect one-on-one with your listeners, with your audience, with your tribe, and to ask them the question, what are you struggling with? And then you just sit back and listen, and they're going to tell you their pain points or obstacles or challenges. And if you ask enough of your audience that question and you listen and you see what the commonalities are that are bubbling to the top, you can take that pain point that's common throughout a lot of people and create the solution. That's exactly how the Freedom Journal was born. People were saying, John, like we're struggling accomplishing goals. How do we do it? So I studied and became an expert in accomplishing goals, and I created a guide for people to do that. I provided the solution to them in the form of the Freedom Journal, and it became the 6th most funded publishing campaign of all time on Kickstarter at over $453,000 in just 33 days. And by the way, we continue to do between 25 to 35K a month in sales because it just continues to serve people in a meaningful way. It's a real solution to a real problem.
I see. So I'm not sure how you'll feel about this question, John, and it might sound a bit familiar to you. But if you woke up tomorrow morning and you still possessed all the experience and knowledge you currently have, but your business had completely disappeared, forcing you to start from scratch, what would you do?
Wow, great question. So I've heard this before. In fact, I've asked this a few times before, maybe about 1,515 times.
Exactly.
But I think my answer actually is a pretty good one. And I say that because I stole it from Gary Vaynerchuk, who was one of my earlier episodes, because I loved it. And it's true. I would throw a party. I would take the $500. I would go to one of the local bars or restaurants and I would say, hey, how much would it cost for me to rent out one of these rooms, provide some appetizers, maybe a drink ticket or two, maybe some music, bring, 50 to 100 entrepreneurs in. And then I would be at the door welcoming people in and just saying, hey, I'm John, I'm the host of the party. Here's a free drink on me, enjoy. Right. And I would just introduce myself to every single person as they came in. And then after, most people had arrived, then I would go around and start reintroducing myself and creating friendships and building bonds and seeing how I could serve this new community of people that I found myself surrounded by.
I love it. I didn't expect anything less from you. Now, what do you have on the horizon for your readers and listeners? I know you're focusing now on promoting both the Freedom and the Mastery Journal, but what about, new books? So do you have any coming up soon?
No, I'm a big believer in following one course until success. Like, I love that acronym. And on January 23rd of 2017, I am launching the Mastery Journal on Kickstarter. Yeah. And so that's it. That's my sole focus. It's going to be a 33-day Kickstarter campaign, just like the Freedom Journal was, about how to master productivity, discipline, and focus in 100 days. It's a book that I'm really proud of. I've worked really hard on. So that's it. That's my horizon, baby. Like, I just want people to go over to themasteryjournal.com, check out what we have going on over there, and just get excited about it.
What is a podcast you can't live without?
I have a lot of podcasts that I listen to because I absolutely love them. I'm going to go a little offshoot here, and I'm going to say Philosopher's Notes. Okay. It's not quite a podcast because you have to invest $10 a month to get the actual access to the podcast. So it's kind of like a pay for podcast, right? $10 a month. And what the host does is he takes the most recent books in the business and health and fitness, and he distills them into 20-minute summaries. And I just love it because I don't have time to read all the new books out there, but I want to gather the important information from them. And this podcast does a great job for me for doing that.
John, thank you so much for taking the time to answer, all these questions and to bear my thick Italian accent. A gigantic good luck to you and to all your further projects.
Thank you so much. It was a blast chatting today.